The city of Manchester. It has long been famous for its canals, spoons, and night time. But did you know it's also where the radio was first discovered? In 1914, two bright young engineers, Joe Mackenzie and Thomas Dilby, stumbled across the radio, or wireless, when they were trying to improve on the flick knife, a popular children's toy at the time. Initially, Dilby and Mackenzie thought the radio was nothing more than a peculiar phenomenon, and merely used it to make their lunchtimes in a lab more enjoyable. It was their mentor, Lord Henry Foxton, who realized its commercial potential. Stopping by one day to borrow a lab gun, he saw the men with their marvellous machine and struck them a deal. He would mass-produce and market the radio in return for 1/17 of the profits. The men agreed, and the radio was put into production. The first model of wireless was rather primitive, having only 3 stations to choose from, rather than the incredible 16 we enjoy nowadays. Nevertheless, it was an instant success. It tapped into the subconscious yearning for hedonism that generations had craved. People of all ages took to it like a goat to a swing. The radio soon became a staple of picnics, trips to the beach, dinner parties, river gatherings. The radio was everywhere. However, its first golden age was coming to an end. Eventually, its temptation grew too strong, and some people enjoyed it to excess. Men, who had once been great pillars of the community, soaked up its aural pleasures all too often. Mothers neglected their children, and perhaps worst of all was its popularity amongst youths, who would regularly host large radio parties, sometimes going on as late as 11 p.m. Britain had tuned into the wireless hard and fast. The government, worried that society was on the brink of collapse, decided to intervene. On January 16, 1920, Prime Minister Neville Collins announced the abolition of the radio. People of Britain, I address you today in a matter of great concern. Many of you will have enjoyed the splendour of the radio in the brief years since its discovery. However, it has become clear that what started as a novel plaything has developed into the ruin of many a great people. And so it is with a heavy heart that I announce, from this day forth, the listening of the wireless, possession of any kind of radio, and the broadcast of material across the airwaves illegal. I'm aware that many of you will be listening to this speech on your own wireless at home. If you could just switch it off after I've finished, that would be great. The radio was now illegal, but its days were far from over. The void it left could not be filled. Criminal gangs that had until then plied their trade in gambling, extortion, prostitution, and cylinders saw an opportunity in this new opening in the black market. A large portion of the radios were shipped in from Canada and sold to eager customers by the truckload. More crude models were made in derelict warehouses by the gangs themselves. Secret clubs, called Listen-Easies, sprang up, usually in dingy rooms below delicatessens, where one could mingle with their fellow lawbreakers to enjoy the illicit sounds of pirate radio. Clearly, organised crime had been allowed to flourish as a result of the ban. Increasing pressure caused Neville Collins to resign, and his successor, John Weymouth, to sign the repeal of the Abolition of the Radio Act in 1933. The radio was legal once again, and although under strict temperance and minimum age laws, was allowed to prosper once again, where to this day it is enjoyed by over 146 people across the world. Do join us next week, when we'll be looking at one of the most important inventions of the 20th century, guilt.